Hello children, hope you all are fine and totally safe at your home. Children, this is the revision of part 2 and in part 2, today we will be starting with the chapter The Summit Within. First of all, I would like you to give an introduction about the person that is Major HPS Alibali. He was a member of the first successful Indian expedition to Mount Everest in 1965. How did he feel when he stood on the highest point in the world? Let us hear a story in his own words. Climbing the summit, and then the more difficult task was to climbing the summit which is within ourselves. Of all the emotions which surged Mr. Ahluwalia, the first one was of the summit of Everest. Looking over miles of panorama below us, the dominant one, I think, was humility. Mr. Major HPS Ahluwalia says that the physical in him said that it was over. But instead of being jubilant, there was a tinge of sadness. Was it because he had already done the ultimate in climbing and there would be nothing higher to climb? And all the roads thereafter would lead down? Let us read and find it out what Mr. Major HPS Ahluwalia wants to say. And let us also find what are his experiences. Major HPS Ahluwalia says, children, that by climbing the Mount Everest, you are overwhelmed by a deep sense of joy and thankfulness. It is a joy which lasts for a lifetime. The experience changes you completely. The man who has been to the mountains is never the same again. As I look back at life after climbing Everest, Mr. Major Ahluwalia says that he cannot help remarking about the other summit, and that is the summit within our mind, which is very difficult to climb. He says further that even getting down off the summit, once the physical exhaustion had gone, he began asking himself the question, why he began to climb Everest? Why did he did the act of reaching the summit? It was already a thing of the past, something which was done yesterday. With every passing day, it was becoming more and more remote. And then, what would remain? The memories which would fade slowly away. All the thoughts led to the question that why people climb mountains. And it was not at all easy to answer that question. The simplest answer was because it is there. It presents great difficulties. Man takes delight in overcoming the obstacles. The obstacles in climbing a mountain are physical. A climb to a summit means endurance, persistence, and willpower. The demonstration of these physical qualities is no doubt exhilarating, as it was for Major Ahluwalia also. So day by day it is so happening, children, that Major Ahluwalia is thinking that why actually he had climbed the Everest. What is the purpose of him to climb the Everest? Mr. Ahluwalia had a more personal answer to the question. From his childhood, he had been attracted by the mountains. He had been miserably lost when away from mountains. Mountains are nature at its best. Their beauty and majesty pose a great challenge. And like many, Mr. Aluwalia also believes that mountains are a means of communication of God. So children, Mr. Aluwalia has interest from when of climbing the Everest. Once having granted this, the question remains, why Everest? Because it is highest, because it is mightiest, and has defied many previous others. It takes the last ounce of last energy. It is a brutal struggle with rock and ice. Once taken up, it cannot be given up halfway. The passage back is as difficult as the passage onward. And then, when the summit is climbed, there is exhilaration, the joy of having done something, the sense of a battle fought and won. There is the victory of happiness. Glimpsing a peak in the distance, Mr. Aluwalia got transported to another world. He experienced a change within himself. By the beauty, aloofness, might, ruggedness, and difficulties encountered the way, it challenged that it is difficult to resist. Looking back, Mr. Aluwalia found that he had a yet fully explained answer that why he climbs Everest. Why do you help your neighbor? Why do you want to do good acts? There is no final answer possible. So Mr. Aluwalia is telling that when he was climbing the Everest, at that time it was very difficult for him. But with the help of his partners, he is able to do many things. And then there is the fact that Everest is not just a physical climb. The man who has been to the mountain top becomes conscious in a special manner. The physical conquest of a mountain is only one part of achievement. It is followed by a sense of fulfillment. There is the satisfaction of a deep urge to rise above one's surroundings. It is the eternal love. The experience is not merely physical, but children, the experience is emotional also. It is spiritual. If you consider a typical climb towards the summit on the last height, just imagine that you are on the last peak to climb the Everest. You are sharing a rope with another climber. He cuts the steps in the hard ice. You strain every nerve as you take every step. Famous climbers have left records of the help given by the others. They have also recorded how they needed just that help. Breathing was difficult. You curse yourself for having let yourself in further. You wonder why you ever undertook the ascent. It would be sheer relief to go down instead of going up. So, there are many emotions, and one such thing which strikes in your mind is that enough, I cannot climb higher. But if you want to go back, it is better you go upstairs. There is something in you that does not let you give up the struggle. Your companion keeps up with you. Just another 50 feet or 100. You ask yourself, is there no end? You look at your companion and he looks at you. You draw inspiration from each other. And then, without first being aware of it, you are at the summit. Looking from the summit, you tell yourself that it is a worthwhile. Other silvery peaks appear through the clouds. If you are lucky, the sun may be on them. The surrounding peaks look like a jeweled necklace around the summit. So there is a description given regarding the other peaks which are there. You go down and make your obeisance to whichever god you worship. That thank God you are safely on the highest peak of the summit. Mr. Ahluwalia left on Everest a picture of Guru Nanak. Rawat left a picture of Goddess Durga. Foodorji left a relic of the Buddha. Admiral Hillary buried a cross under a king. These are not just a symbol. The experience of having climbed Everest changes you completely. But there is another summit, and that summit is within yourself. Each man carries with himself his own mountain peak. Each and every person must climb it to reach a fuller knowledge. It is fearful, but it is unscalable. It cannot be climbed by anyone else. You yourself have to do it. The physical act of climbing to the summit of a mountain outside to the act of climbing inside. The effects of both the mountain climb, whether it is outside or whether it is inside, both the effects are same. Whether the mountain you climb is physical or emotional or spiritual. It teaches you much about the world and about yourself. Mr. Ahluwalia is saying that he ventured to think that my experience as an airwester has provided him with an inspiration to fact. Climbing the mountain was a worthwhile experience. The conquest of the eternal summit is equally worthwhile. The eternal summits are perhaps higher than the Everest. Children, this was the whole chapter of the summit within. Here, we are given a short story about Mr. Ahluwalia, his experiences, how he had climbed the Everest, and we have also seen that how one should climb his own Everest. I hope the chapter is very much clear to you, children. And now we go to the next chapter, the next poem, a very cute poem about the school boy. Well, you all are school students, isn't it? How do you feel? Do you enjoy going to school or is it boring? Yes, some teachers may be strict, so it may be boring to you. But mark my words, children, school days don't come back. But here is a rather a different circumstances. The school boy is not at all happy. What makes him unhappy? Why does he compare himself to a bird that lives in a cage or a plant that withers when it should blossom? Let us read the poem and find it out. The School Boy. I love to rise in the summer morn when the birds sing on every tree. The distant huntsman bends his horn and the skylark sings with me. Oh, what a sweet company. In the first paragraph, the little schoolboy is saying that he likes to get up in the summer morning because each and every tree has a bird who is singing. He also sees that there is a skylark who sings with him. It is a very sweet company. So, whenever the child is getting up in the summer morning, he is very happy to see all the natural things besides him. But to go to school in a summer morning, oh, it drives away all the joy. Under a cruel eye outward, the little one spent the day in sigh and dismay. You can just see the reaction which the boy is giving. That after waking up in the summer morning when you have to go to school, it just takes away all your joy because you are not at all happy when you have to spend the whole day in your school. Because the child is not at all happy going to the school. Ah, then at times I drooping sit and spend many anxious hours. Nor in my book can I take delight, nor sit in learning grow, born though with weary stroll. So afterwards, the whole day, the little boy had to go to school and spend the hours there. Children, from morning till afternoon 1 or 2 o'clock, you are in the school, right? So you have to spend many hours there. So here the boy is saying that I have to spend my most of hours there and I am very much tired because I do not get any interest in my books and I have to just make sure that I have to be awake. Otherwise, from inside, I am very much asleep. How can the bird that is born for joy sit in the cage and sing? How can a child when fears and all, but droop his tender wing and forget his youthful spring? So, in this paragraph, the boy is saying that a little bird or a little boy or a little child is meant for happiness, is born for happiness. How can he just sit in a cage and sing? Child is fearing that if he goes to school like this way, without any interest, he will lose all his joy. O father and mother, if birds are left and blossoms blown away, and if the tender plants are stripped of their joy in the springing day, by sorrow and cares dismayed, how shall the summer joy arise or the summer fruits appear? So, in the end, the boy is telling to his mother and father that if the blossoms are dead, if the flowers are plucked out, then it is not at all good because it will only create sorrow and the child will not come out with life color. Children, in this poem we have seen that a boy is not at all happy to go to school. I hope the poem is very much clear to you. Now, we will move to our next chapter and the name of our chapter is Geordie's Pond. Children, pond is a small deer. Let us begin with the introduction. Instead of rushing to a doctor or to treat a small cut or burn, we find quick and effective curses. Can you think of some such home remedies? If there is a cut on your knee, if there is a burn on your arm, or a bee sting, just ask your parents. In this story, Geordie's father has been bitten by a rattlesnake. He quickly kills the doe and uses its heart and liver to draw out the poison. Geordie wonders what will happen to the little form without a meal. Let us read the story and find it. Children, first of all, let us go through the meanings. To drift back means to go back. To dilate it means enlarge. A closed shape means a narrow escape. Keep your head, stay calm. Accounts means north. Every day means in different direction. Jody allowed his thoughts to drift back. He could not keep it out of his mind. He had held it in his dreams in his arms. He slipped from the table and went to his father's bedside. His father's name was Penny and he was resting. His eyes were open and clear, but the pupils were still dark. Jody is saying to his father that how was he now? So his father replies that old death has gone thieving, but it was a close shave. And he is also saying that he was proud of Jody because the way he had kept his mind was really very appreciable. Now Jody is saying that do you reconnect the door and the phone? So his father is saying that I could never forget him because he was the one who had saved his life. So Jody is saying that the phone may be out and he must be very scared. So we should bring that phone to our house and we should raise that phone. To this, his father is speechless because he says that Jody was smarter than the boys of his age. And he is giving the permission to bring that phone to his home. Now it so happens that there is a rider named Melville and Jody is going with that Melville. And his father is also telling that tell your mother that his father has given him a permission. He is talking all these things to his mother. And his mother is just not happy with the decision. His mother is saying that well, for pity's sake. And Melville is also saying that he should bring the phone back because whosoever has helped us, we should always pay them back. So his mother is not able to do anything. And his mother is telling that if you give your milk to Jody, then what will you be feeding? Again, that rider is saying that leave all those things and let us go and find the Jody. Now, there is a conversation going on between Jody and the Melville. Jody is saying to Melville that do you really think that the phone will be there? So Melville is saying that we will find him if he is alive. Did you recognize him? As you can see in the image, children, the fawn has a spot on his skin. Now we begin with the part 2. Jody gave himself over to thoughts of the fawn. They passed the abandoned clearing. So they both are having a conversation and they passed the clearing. It was that Pa got bitten up by the snake and killed the dog, and I saw the fawn. Suddenly, Jody was unwilling to have Melville with him. If the fawn was dead or could not be found, he could not have this disappointment seen. He said, it's not far now, but the scrub is very thick for a horse. I can make it on a foot, but I am afraid to leave you, says Melville. Suppose you got lost or bitten by a snake too then? So Jody is saying that do not worry about me. I will be safe. There and there, that tall pine makes a bend. He waited for the sound of hooves to end, and then cut to the right. The scrub was still, only his own crackling twigs sound across the silence. He wondered for an instant if he had mistaken his directions. Then a buzzard rose in front of him and flapped into the air. He came into the clearing under the oak. They turned their heads on their long necks. He threw his bow. The sand showed large cat prints. He parted the grass at the place where he had seen the fawn. The fawn was not there. He returned to the spots where the fawn had emerged and dropped on all the fours, studying the stand for the small hoof print. Children, till now we have learned that Jody is not able to find the fawn. Do you think that he found the fawn? And if he did, what he actually did after bringing him back to the home? Just pause this video and find the answer. Children, I hope all the 3 chapters are very much clear to you, and I hope you have understood also. That was all for all the 3 chapters. I hope all the 3 chapters are clear to you. Thank you so much, children. Warm regards, Faith Integrated Camp.